Hi, my name is Paul Godwin and welcome to this webinar where we'll be providing you with an introduction to SquaredUp. Now, most organizations have a wealth of data available, but this is often locked away inside specialist-focused tools. There are a variety of tools and platforms out there, and this was evident from the results of our single pane of glass survey, where a number of IT ops engineers provided feedback on the categories of tools that they use in their environments. So this could be from different platforms from cloud to on-prem, and different monitoring tools from digital experience, APM, and infrastructure monitoring, as well as data from popular ITSM and service desk applications, or cost management data from their different cloud environments. Now, often these sources are owned by different teams, where only a select few have the necessary access or even the skills to query this data. And some are also hidden behind clunky interfaces with limited visualizations. So there's a lot of useful data available, but the ability to surface and visualize that data in a single place is not so easy. And this is where SquaredUp comes in. As the leader in dashboards for IT ops, we provide a simple and consistent way to present your data no matter where it comes from. So SquaredUp is available in 3 editions. We've got Community Edition, Azure Edition, and SCOM Edition. So to start with, there is the Community Edition. So if you don't utilize Azure or SCOM, but still need to build impactful dashboards, leveraging flexible integrations like PowerShell and Web API, for instance, then this is a great choice. But if you do have Azure or SCOM, then you'll certainly want to check out our Azure or SCOM editions. So as well as those flexible integrations I mentioned, such as PowerShell and Web API, you also have a native integration where you can easily dashboard on your Azure or SCOM data, as well as then drill down into your monitored resources for further insights. Now with the Azure Edition, cloud teams can then take control of their cost and performance of their Azure resources, and with the SCOM Edition, monitoring teams can then unlock insights from SCOM with a powerful native integration, and also with the ability to then easily map and monitor their applications using our Enterprise Application feature. So let's take a look at SquaredUp. First, let's log into a Community Edition version of SquaredUp. So here you can see we have a dashboard giving us a nice high-level overview of what's going on with the website, as well as critical apps in our environment. And this could be really useful sort of for an ops team or an application dev team, just to keep an eye on what's going on with those applications. We've got a bunch of different tiles, as I mentioned, in SquaredUp, so that you can connect and visualize the data you need from those different sources. And we've used a few different examples on this dashboard here. Now each of the tiles on a dashboard are individually configurable, so we actually have complete control over what it is we want to see on our dashboards. So let's actually take a look at some of these tiles here. So if I edit the dashboard here with the cog icon up here, I can then, you're in the dashboard designer, and I can move these tiles around and edit them or add new tiles. In this case, I just wanted to edit some of these tiles to show you how we configured some of these. So for instance, up here, this critical apps tile we've set up here. If I hit the cog here, I'll just drag this over so you can see this a little bit better. And you'll see that we've used the Web API tile here to query an API endpoint. There's a bunch of different visuals for each sort of tile type, and we see we're using this status blocks here. We're then sort of querying an API endpoint to get web availability here for these different apps, and then we're using that response data returned to then map these to a different status. So anything that's up and less than 700, for instance, is showing as green, and so on and so forth, to show yellow and red for different sort of response times or whether something is down. It's a really nice tile, the status tile, and that's available in the different integration tiles. You'll see we've actually got the dedicated tiles for Elasticsearch and Splunk, as well as those more generic sort of tiles such as the Web API and PowerShell. And you'll see that we've used one of the Splunk tile here to get sort of a bunch of host events over the last 24 hours, for instance, to see the total of these. So if I hit the cog here just to show you this, so you'll see the Splunk tile, it's got its own visualizations as well, including some status ones. In this case, we're using the line graph here. So we've set up a provider, the Splunk here. And with the Splunk tile, we can actually enter our Splunk search queries here. And if we wanted to, we can even load in queries from our Splunk instance if we wanted to as well, and edit the query from there. So it gives you a nice sort of easy experience to query Splunk data. As well as that, I mentioned we have the PowerShell tile as well, and we've used that here actually to query, in this case, another API endpoint, but this time for a tool called Pingdom to get response time data. So I'll just edit this just to show you this. So the PowerShell tile, again, it's got its own visualizations here. In this case, we've chosen a line graph, and then we can sort of enter a PowerShell script here, and we're returning that data and displaying that response data on a line graph. In this case, we're showing average response times to our website there. So it's really some really neat tiles to play with to try and get really nice dashboards for your different teams or use cases. Now, I've moved this around a bit here, so you'll see it's come up showing unpublished changes here. So I could choose to actually publish this to save these changes, but in this case I'm actually going to discard those because I'm happy with this dashboard as it is. Now, you may wish, once you've got a dashboard in place, to share it with your teams. Now, if you wanted to just share the dashboard with your other SquaredUp named users, and by that I mean those users that can log into SquaredUp, it is a web application, so you can just share the URL, they can log in and take a look at this dashboard. But if you wanted to share this dashboard out with the wider audience, maybe to share it onto a wall screen or embed it in an intranet portal, for instance, you can use our sharing feature called Open Access. So you'll see over here we've got this share this dashboard button here. If I click this, it gives us this sharing options window where we can actually enable open access, and it will prepare a dashboard, open access dashboard for us. And you'll see we'll have this open access URL then that doesn't require any authentication, and anyone with access to the URL can then view the dashboard. And if we just hit preview here, I can just show you an example. This is the open access version of this dashboard, and you'll see it's very much like any normal dashboard. We can still roll over things, and it works very much like a normal dashboard that we've seen in the product itself. So it's a really powerful feature to then share your dashboards to the wider audience, or as I mentioned, place it onto a wall screen or into an internet portal, wherever it is you need that dashboard to appear. So just coming back into SquaredUp again. As well as sort of creating your own dashboard, we do have some community dashboards as well that you can look at and import yourselves. There is a website for that. It's just squareup.com/dashboard gallery, but you can get to it through the product itself as well. You'll see that under this menu here, import dashboard packs, and it'll take you to the system menu, to this community pack section here. And we'll see there's some links out to the individual community dashboards themselves. But if I just hit browse all here, just to take you to the main website itself, you'll see a bunch of different sort of community dashboards that are already available, and this list will grow over time as well. But maybe you've got some VMware VMs you want to report the status of. There's already sort of like a dashboard someone's created for this purpose, or maybe you're monitoring your network devices through SolarWinds, for instance. There's a dashboard for that, and you can import those dashboards into your SquaredUp environment and then configure those to your needs. Now, as you mentioned earlier, if you've got SCOM, then you definitely want to take a look at our SCOM edition of SquaredUp instead. And this actually contains all the same tiles you see here, but also has SCOM focused tiles. So this makes scoping dashboards for your SCOM data an absolute breeze. So let's actually jump over to an instance of our SCOM edition to take a look. So any of you that have SCOM already, you'll know it's a treasure trove of data, but much of it is pretty difficult to access, especially from within the SCOM console. So our SCOM edition unlocks all this data and makes it beautifully simple to surface those insights onto dashboards. This is possible by our native integration into SCOM's underlying object model, and so makes us very easy to scope and build dashboards from that SCOM data. So let's actually take a look at some of the cool things that this makes possible. So during the installation of SquaredUp, the installer actually detects what management packs that you have installed within SCOM and recommends dashboard packs based on these. As you can see, we've got some out-of-the-box dashboards for things like Windows Server, SQL Server, and your IIS web servers, for instance, here. And it doesn't stop here. There are dashboard packs for many common management packs. So, for instance, let's drill into this M365 dashboard to take a look. So this dashboard visualizes data from your organization's M365 tenant based on that data collected in SCOM by the M365 management pack. So here we can see our subscription health, the health of our watcher nodes, as well as the health of our different services such as Teams and SharePoint. And to the right here we can also see some useful metrics. So we're using the performance tiles here to show metrics to do with the network and SharePoint, Teams, as well as the mail flow within M365. We can also create dashboards for our applications as well. So for instance, let's look at this applications availability report here. And this availability report dashboard is an out-of-the-box view, providing us with an insight into the availability of our enterprise applications in this case. So we can now see the health state history for the last 30 days, for instance, as well as the current health. We can also see the SLA for the last 24 hours, 7 days and 30 days here. So this dashboard makes it really easy to identify any applications that require our attention. So we've had a little look at some of the out-of-the-box dashboards. Let's actually look at how we can create our own dashboards. So at the top of the menu here, you'll see this little plus icon here, and I can simply highlight that and click Dashboard. Now, when you go to create a dashboard for the first time, you'll get several sort of different layout options from, say, a simple sort of single tile dashboard to a more complex layout here. So if we just choose one of these layouts, you'll see you can now edit this to your needs. And with the dashboard designer, you can very easily add in new rows, new columns. You can split tiles, and you can sort of drag and drop tiles to different places. And you can just delete them using the trash icon as well. So it's really easy to get the layout that you might need for your dashboard, or move things around after you've configured your tiles to get the layout that you want. So configuring tiles is really easy as well, and here you can see the bunch of tiles options that you have available to you. And what I want to do here, just as an example, is create, let's say, create a dashboard just for one of our enterprise applications here. So let's create a dashboard for our sales app, for instance. We'll give it a little title there. Now, first of all, I actually want to add in, say, just the status of the application itself. So we'll use the status icon. In this case, I'm going to choose the block tile here. And when you're scoping with SCOM tiles, it's nice and simple. You've got the list option, so you can just quite simply add in any object you like or group into there and just list those objects out. You've got the group option, so you can just sort of select any sort of group that you wish to add and use to scope this tile. And you've got the advanced option here where you can scope on a group and or a class, and even use sort of SCOM properties and criteria to filter those down further. In this case, what I want to do is I just want the general health state of my sales app object. So I can enter that in here, and you'll see it'll bring up a list of objects here that I can then select. And this is the one I want. And then we can see it's already added the block at the bottom there, so we can see how this is going to look. I'm just going to do a little editing here just to sort of get this looking how I want it. Now, what I might do actually is add a tile to the right of this. I'm actually just going to split this tile and then just drag this over here. And next, what I want is maybe a tile showing the web servers for this application. In this case, what I might do is actually use the matrix tile here, which is a really nice tile. In this case, what I might do is use a group. So my sales app enterprise application actually has a underlying group for the web servers. So I'm actually going to select that here using group, and you'll see it actually presents a nice list of my web servers. And the great thing about the matrix tile is that it includes the status information there, as well as other properties or metrics, and you can actually edit what's shown in these different columns as well. So it's a very versatile tile. What I might do now is actually add in, say, maybe a donut showing the health state of the different sort of tiers or in this sales app. So once again, let's use the status tile. I'm actually going to expand this over here just so I can see this a bit better. In this case, I'm going to choose the donut tile. And in this case, I'm going to use a grouping again, but one of the sales app groups. Let's use the sales app grouping. And so I can just show a donut showing those. And just give it a title. And that's just showing the status of my different tiers. I can actually show the legend as well here, so I can see the different healthy and critical items there. I might actually add a donut to the right of this as well, actually, just to show a summary of alerts as well. So I can use the alerts tile here. I'm going to use the donut visualization. And in this case, I'm just going to show alerts related to that sales app again. So I'm just going to select the sales app object in the list scoping here. I'm happy just to show all the alerts associated with this, so I don't need to sort of apply any more further filters to this. And I'm just going to call this alerts. Now what I might do is actually add a list of alerts over to the right here under this matrix tile, so I can actually just see some more details about the some of the alerts for this sales app. And again, I'll select the alerts tile, this time the list option, and this time again I'll actually just select sales app. And now we're starting to see a list of the alerts associated with the sales app. And again, I can show different sort of filters for those alerts and the time frame of those alerts. But I'm quite happy with the details I'm seeing here. And so I'll just click done on that. And I'll just call that, again, alerts there. So what I might want to do actually is to show maybe active connections to the SQL servers for this app. And what I'm actually going to do is, rather than add a tile underneath one of these, I'm going to add a new row for this. And then I can configure the tile. But in this case, I'm going to select performance. And this means I can access all those sort of metrics. So in this case, I'm going to use the line graph. And in this case, I'm going to use another group, but this time the sales app, the SQL group here. I could have listed these SQL servers out individually, but as there's a group available, it makes it nice and simple just to collate those all under a group. And if I come down to metric, I can then see all the metrics that are associated with the scope I've chosen here. And now I could expand this list to find the metric I want, but I think if I know that metric is called active connections, there we go. I can search, do a partial search on it, and it will bring up the list of items that I might be interested in. So I'll select that here. Now, if I scroll down, you'll see that it's actually already created that chart for us here. And I can do some further editing to how this is displayed, but I'm happy with that as it is. Give it a title. And there we have a dashboard based on our sales app. So now that I'm happy with this dashboard, I can go ahead and publish it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, with the SCOM edition, we can actually drill down into these different objects. So I could actually drill down into one of these web servers, for instance. But in this case, I want to take a little further look at our sales app. So let's drill into this here. Now, on this availability view, we have included the health and SLA data from the URL tests that we've set up. So this is sort of showing the SLAs for the different sort of time ranges here. Alongside, actually, it's showing the performance response time from SCOM here for these tests as well. But you'll also see that we've actually included some data from some different tools here. So we've got some charts embedded from New Relic, which is an APM tool. But we've also included some response time metrics from Pingdom again, which is testing the availability of this app from different places across the globe. So we've got sort of availability information not only from SCOM that we configured, but from other tools that we might be using to monitor these critical applications. Now, our sales app here is what we call an enterprise application, and EAs is a SCOM object that we've defined. And with the EA designer in SquaredUp, you can easily create your own EAs, including configuring the availability monitoring, as well as actually map the underlying infrastructure of the application. So as you can see from this perspective view here, enterprise applications use a three-part application model. And this is breaking the object into availability monitoring, which you can see here, you've got the topology or map view, which is like an infrastructure view of the application, as well as showing any dependencies if you've got that set up as well. And here we can actually see the breakdown of that three-part model. So we can see we've got the availability, the map, and the dependencies. Important thing with enterprise applications is the health is only of the overall object here. It's actually only ever rolled up from the availability monitoring that you've configured. So meaning the status and uptime is more meaningful to the business, and we can then report true SLA information against that application. And this allows you to really monitor what matters most with EAs, and that's the applications, but also have the view of the health of the infrastructure that's supporting that application. So let's actually go over to the map view here and take a look at the infrastructure view. And here we can actually see our map, which includes the key components from the web, application, and SQL tiers of this application. And the application is mapped using Vader. This is our visual application discovery and analysis tool. And these discoveries work by running a netstat task via your SCOM agents. And then this provides the inbound-outbound connection traffic to each node and pairs that information with the services and processes that it's communicating at the time the discovery is run. And then when you're creating an enterprise application, SquaredUp will automatically create the TCP port monitor for the links between these component groups, as well as for the Windows services themselves that it's discovered. And much like any dashboard from the map, we can also drill down into the components from the map. So for instance, we can drill down into this unhealthy server here, which is this SQL server. Now what I want to do is actually jump over to this Vader perspective over here temporarily, just to sort of give you a preview of how this works. So the Vader perspective under these objects actually gives you the ability to run sort of ad hoc discoveries. But the operation here is very much the same within the EA designer itself. So we can begin to run a discovery to build a visual topology of our sales app in this case. So once we've clicked on this, we can see that it's run a discovery on the SQL 01 server there. And you'll see that it's brought up a bunch of components that it's found. And we can then click to add them to the map. So for instance, we can add the order platform database here from this server, because we know that's a part of our sales app here. And we'll see that it's brought up and found a couple of upstream connections here. If we actually click the +2 here, we should hopefully see it will find our application tier. And there we go. So it's found a couple of application servers here. And I can click and run a discovery on these. So it's just using your SCOM agents to then run a discovery on that. And we'll see that it's actually detected the service that's communicating with this database, in this case, the order.win service. And it's also detected another SQL server, which we could run a discovery on as well. And you'll see it's also found some more upstream connections this end. And if we click on that, we'll see it's found a web server here. So once we actually have this configured, if we were looking using the EA designer, for instance, when you've actually configured your enterprise application, the enterprise application is then saved into SCOM as its own management pack. But that's just a little preview of Vader there, really powerful tool for mapping your applications. But let's actually head back to this root cause perspective over here, because we see the SQL server is a little unhealthy at this moment. So as this is an unhealthy object, you'll see this root cause perspective here. But I've mentioned the word perspective, so I just wanted to quickly explain what they are. I mean, they essentially are object level dashboards, and this is giving you different views of an object, showing a focused set of information. And each perspective can be configured for just this object, so just to show for just this SQL server here. Or it could be configured to show for many other objects, dynamically showing the relevant information for the object you're looking at. And perspectives are customizable, and you can even add your further perspectives here, much like any other dashboard that you've done with your standalone dashboards up here. So you can see with the root cause perspective, this is giving us an insight into any child objects, monitors and alerts causing this object to become unhealthy in this case. So we can also drill down into alerts. So let's actually drill down into this logical disk space alert here. And here we can actually see the detail for the alert, including, say, the hosting stack. So we can see this to do with the C drive on SQL 01 here. We can also see any description, any history regarding the alert. We can see any company knowledge and also edit this from here as well if we wish to, as well as any product knowledge that's available for that alert as well. and also the context of when the alert fired. Up the top here, you'll see a perspective ribbon for the alerts as well, and so we can see this monitor perspective here, being that this is a monitor, and if we click on this, we can actually see the configuration for the monitor, so as well as any overrides against the monitor as well, so you can see those down here. If we move across, we can also see this analytics perspective here, and this is actually using just a bunch of our SQL tiles and running SQL queries against the data warehouse to provide an insight into this alert, so give us a little bit more information around this. So we've got things like average time to close here and frequency, that sort of thing. So it's a really powerful tile to query SQL sources as well, including the data warehouse using the SQL tile. So as well as these sort of out-of-the-box views for the alerts, we can also add our own perspectives for alerts here as well. So, for example, we've created this free space perspective here, and you can see that it's showing the free space metric. And any sort of performance tile that we're looking at here, we can actually drill into not only objects and alerts, but also the performance tiles as well. And if we actually drill into this free space chart here, you'll see that we can actually click through. It will bring up this individual chart here, and we can actually click through the different time frames and very easily and quickly update this to show all the data that's potentially available for this as well. And we can set it to 12 months, 6 months, that sort of thing, and get the data back really quickly. We can actually also show a comparison on this chart. So if I click compare here, I can use this scoping similar to what you've seen with the tiles. And let's say I could use the list option and add in, let's say, the other SQL server. So maybe our SQL 02 server here as well, and mount that on the chart. And we can also export this to Excel, and that will export the data points for these, but also generate a chart in Excel for this as well. So in today's demo, we've shown you how SCOM Edition allows you to easily build powerful dashboards for SCOM, drill in to gain further insights, and then also map and monitor those applications using iEnterprise application and Vader features. That actually brings us to the end of the demo today, so let's actually head back to the slides to show you how you can try this out for yourself. So you can get started today by heading over to squaredup.com/download. There is a free edition of Community Edition, as well as 30-day free trials for Azure and SCOM editions. Thanks for taking the time to view this webinar today, and as always, happy dashboarding.